to the Dr. Hutch Show. I'm Dr. J.L. Hutchinson, your host of the Dr. Hutch Show. Plan for Impact, brought to you by Christian Crown Ministries on 1220 Beyond the Word, and my co-host, evangelist Elaine P. Jones. Today, we're going to give you something that God has put on our heart to deliver to you, and the word that we give you today, our message is... to the Dr. Hutch Show. I'm Dr. Jimmy L. Hutchinson Jr. and my co-host,
Prophetess Elaine P. Jones.
Today we're going to go back and talk about Is the Dream Still Alive with Martin Luther King Part 2. And I want to do something different. I got the boys at the table. I got Anthony and Trayvon and Tyrese at the table, and we're just going to have an open discussion because everybody has an impact. It's best to get the views of the youth and see where they are and what they feel and what they think. A lot of people don't understand that Martin Luther King defined a lot of things for us as black people. They used to say back in the day, they said we wasn't smart, we were stupid, we couldn't read, we were ignorant. And he defied all that stuff because Martin Luther King, if you didn't know, he was born in January the 15th, 1929 in Atlanta, Georgia, which was a very prejudiced place back then. Mm-hmm. Martin Luther King had a brother, Alfred, and he had a sister named Christine. And both his parents and as far as his father and his grandfather were ministers, and his mother was a school teacher. She taught him how to read before he even went to school. Martin Luther King was an excellent student. He skipped grades in both elementary and high school. He actually graduated from high school when he was 14 years old. And when he was 15, he enrolled in Morehouse College in Atlanta. And graduating 4 years later, he was only 19 years old when he graduated. When he got his doctorate degree, he was only 23 years old. I mean, that defies a lot of things where people say that we didn't have that knowledge. I mean, even in sports, for many years they said blacks could not be quarterbacks in the NFL because we wasn't smart enough to learn the books. And look where we at. We got another black quarterback going back to the Super Bowl 2 years straight, back to back, in 2013 and 2014, and Doug Williams was the first black quarterback to go to the Super Bowl and win it. They actually both went and won the games back in 1987. So we have had a lot of things that have evolved in regards to us as blacks. And, it seems like, the Anthony and Trayvon Tyrese, they wasn't born during that time of the civil rights movement. But but their opinion is very important because it measures the progress and where we have been. And I'm going to start off, and I'm just going to share what I'm going to do. I'm going to go around the table and ask each individual to share with us when they first recognized somebody was being prejudiced or racist toward them, and that there was a difference. My first situation where I found myself in a position where I was walking to the corner store, and I was walking to the corner store. I was 9 years old, actually 10 years old, 10, and it was snowing. I walked there, and I came back. I was coming back, and then a police car pulled up in front of me, and they got out. These two white police officers, and I said. I tried to walk around them, and he stepped in front of me, and they said, "Hey, could you lift up your boots?" And so I lifted up my boots. I had Dino on my boots, the little symbol. They had Fred Flintstone boots, and they accused me of kicking in the back door of a house. And I was like, "Well, I didn't kick in no back door. I just came from the store." And the other police officer had grabbed me, and I said, "Get off me." And then my friend, his name was Jimmy too, he came out, and it was his house that the door was kicked in. And he said, well, he couldn't have did that. I seen him go to the store. This happened before he even came by. And they said, no, he's the one that did it. Look at his little black face. He's guilty. And I was like, what? And I was like, officer, let me go. And then I started tugging from him. And then Robert King and a whole bunch of other people came across the street, said, hey, let him go. And so a crowd gathered around. Then my sister came down, and she told my brother Eric to go get my mom, and they were pushing me in the back of the police car. And I was like, hey, and they said, and when they put me in the back of the police car, one of the officers said, yeah, we take him down to the lake, get rid of him. And it was like, it wasn't anything that I did. It was just that they were saying about my color of my skin made me guilty.
Right.
And I was scared. And my sister, she turned around and she was end up getting me out of the car. All the kids, we all ran down the street, ran through people's backyard to get away from the police. But that was my first experience, just based on nothing that I have done, because I was, a little bad kid at the time. But I was innocent. But then for them to turn around and just because of my skin accuse me of something really scared me. And that's the experience that I had. And as I started growing up, I started realizing certain things, that things were different for me than other people. And then the people that was in my group and lived on my street, lived in the neighborhood. And I realized that black people, we have neighborhoods versus communities. Back in the day, we had communities versus neighborhoods. Everybody knew each other. And they can account for different things and direct and confront different people on different issues as far as the children in the neighborhood. But today, we're faced with those challenges in a much broader form. And sometimes it can be things that we don't even see. Prophetess Jones, do you have any experiences? What was your first experience?
I believe my first experience was on my way coming home from school, and I actually had to walk through a predominantly white neighborhood because I grew up in a predominantly white neighborhood, and I stayed after school for some reason, and I was walking home, and I was by myself, and I remember a crowd full of white teens yelling out of the car, calling me, the N-word, and throwing cans and bottles and, trash out of the car, and it scared me, and so I just took off running. And so that was my first experience that I can recall of being just attacked based upon this color of my skin.
Oh man, that's great. Yeah, and that's always a challenge. Tyrese, you want to share with us? You want to share? You had never had a experience? Oh, well, we'll come back to him. Anybody? Trayvon or Anthony?
Just like walking into the store, being followed around.
Walking in the store, being followed around. Yeah. You, Anthony?
The same situation. Walking in the store, being followed.
Yeah. So being followed, so they have had those experiences, and those experiences that you had. Actually, how did it make you feel, Trayvon?
I was irritated.
Irritated? What was you, Anthony?
Felt like I was being just profiled for no reason.
Yeah. Tyrese, you come up with any experience that you have had?
The same experience, and the way that it made me feel is almost as if how they already portray us to be as a second-class citizen when I was born here in the United States just like them, and it made me feel like if I'm a paying customer, that we should all be treated equally and there should be no persecution coming my direction.
Yeah, and you didn't do anything wrong. It's always normal. I mean, it's an experience that we all face, But when we ask the question, is Martin Luther King dream still alive? And it's like we find ourselves in year 2015 where we're faced with a lot of different opposition. I just was reading yesterday, another young man was gunned down in St. Louis, Missouri, a teenager, a black teenager. And, you know, this is not the first time. You know, this is not the first time you see a black male being go to jail, and 39, 40 years later, you found out that he's innocent.
Right, based on DNA or somebody coming forward. But what I have noticed is that 99% of the time, when you find someone being released from prison for a crime they didn't commit, 99% of the time, it is a black male.
Yeah, and we even see it on television with that show called Another 48, and then you have another show called Cops Reloaded. I mean, they actually reloading the old shows and bringing on new shows and profiling. And then most of the people you see on those shows are us. I mean, they had Another 48. They had Cleveland on there, Cleveland, Ohio. I mean, and then they had Akron. So we find ourselves that we are more prone to be targeted based on our color of our skin. Nothing that we have done.
Right.
Just can be walking down the street. People have gotten killed because of what? Because of just being who they are.
The color of their skin, being black.
The color of their skin.
I've noticed too that some blacks even will, because they may not be experiencing that, they're kind of out of touch and saying, well, look at Barack Obama, or look at Oprah Winfrey. But these are one in how many percentage?
Millions.
The average black person, especially young black males, are still to a great degree experiencing racism, experiencing inequality and injustice. Just because there are a handful of rappers and so-called celebrities who are making huge amounts of money does not mean that black people in America are doing well.
And money doesn't measure the freedom that even doesn't
That's
matter
true.
how much money we have. You know, we still go be considered a nigga.
That's
hate
true.
to say, but
And
I use the
Oprah
word.
Winfrey was rejected at a store and said that, you know, the customer service representative told her she probably couldn't afford a purse that she was looking at, with this person not being aware that Oprah Winfrey, without her makeup, for those of you who don't know, she doesn't quite look the same. The woman didn't recognize her and approached her and told her, well, you probably want to look at another handbag. And when Oprah asked her why did she suggest that, she said, because you might not be able to afford that one. She had no knowledge she was talking to one of the highest paid
Black
talk
show hosts.
Talk show hosts, entertainers in the world. So it just goes to show what you said, Dr. Hutch, about money still does not mean that some people don't look at you based on the color of your skin as being a lesser person.
Now, if you think about it, if you was to take away the economic success of a lot of blacks, and you would have what we have, where people will be, you know, to a point where we're upset. The level, the temperament of blacks would be at a high pitch because you take away the economics, and what do you think you're going to have? You're going to have basically slavery all over again when you really look at it, because that's what we're facing. Because I'm in business, I'm talking to many different people, and a lot of things that keep a lot of people from actually even doing business with me is because of the color of my skin. I know that. I've been doing that for a long time, you know. And when it came to the point where people wanted to do business with me, some people did business with me in secret instead of in the public, because nobody wants a black man to be their attorney, or a black man to give them advice on how to be successful or what to invest in. Those things are very important. We're at a time point right now, and even though we have, like I said last week, we sacrificed our liberation for education. And we're suffering right now because we're not liberated. We're not a liberated people. We're the only group of people that don't have a black town. Like you have Chinatown, you have Little Italy, you have Little Mexico, and all these different major cities.
Little Polish town.
What do they have in Chicago?
Oh gosh, all of that.
Yeah, but
Chinatown, Jewtown, Polish town.
Man,
you name it.
Do they have black town there?
Well, it's called the hood.
It's called the hood.
Or the ghetto.
Yeah, but those places that people have based on their culture and how they celebrate their life and their heritage, they have that. You know, they say, well, y'all got Black History Month. Yeah, we got the shortest month in the year.
And not only that, what does it represent except for a handful of people that are kind of celebrated and talked about on TV? But in the lives of the average person, what really takes place in Black History Month? Is there a Black History Parade? Is there, you know what I mean? Is there a Black History Day where, you know, the federal government recognizes and you don't go to school? I don't know of any. Now, we have Martin Luther King Jr. Day, which has been fought by many states and still not celebrated throughout the entire country. So there has been some progress, but again, there are many others who we celebrate and have days off, and we don't even know who these people are.
Yeah, I got a question for Trayvon. Is it based on the school that you are choosing to go to for college? Have you thought about it based on race, or is it based on just the school that you want, as far as whatever trade or career you want to go to? Does race play a part in your choice of school?
No, I haven't really thought about it. I need a foreign language, so.
Yeah. So he's dealing with what foreign language you need.
Any foreign language. I probably wanted to take German or Latin.
German or Latin. You know, Tyrese, has it played a role in you making a decision what school you're going to go to?
Yes.
Why is that?
I mean, me as a black person, I tend to gravitate to my own race just by human nature. So yeah, it has played a part. I look at the different racial ratios and things of that nature, and I tend to look at the aspects of, you know, how many blacks are graduating and what majors and minors they choose to what they choose to pick in different things, and you know, the success rate.
Yeah, because they always say, you know, when we go to a certain school, like they said, well, we go to a all black school, and then we doing great over there, and then we go over to a all white school, that our grades would drop. And you go to an all-white school, right? Predominantly.
There's all types of races there,
yeah. What about you, Trayvon? Is your school predominantly white, or?
It's predominantly white.
Yeah. So you're fortunate to be in those schools, and you're doing good, right? What's your name? You made merit roll. You know, you made what roll?
I don't know my grades yet.
Oh, okay.
But his grades are good, so he's doing well. He's not failing in anything.
He made donut roll.
I got at least a C or higher in all my classes.
Yeah.
I don't even think I got any C's. But
yeah. When you was
no, he didn't have any.
When you was in high school, what grades were you getting, Anthony?
When I first started off, it was like a C, average, maybe sometimes a D. I wasn't too focused when I first started school. But as I matured and got more into my studies, it was a B, A, sometimes a C at lowest.
And that school was predominantly white, right?
Yeah, once I relocated to Ohio, my first high school was predominantly black back in Chicago, but once it came to Ohio, predominantly white.
Yeah, but that shows you that you can compete, and you know, when you go fill out job applications and go for work, that shows that you can compete with your with your peers and grow. So the question is, how much progress our nation has made toward Dr. King's dream? What do you think? I mean, everybody just give their opinion of what they think, starting with you.
I think we've made a lot of progress, but I think there is still a world of progress that needs to be made or that could be made. And I don't think it's going to happen overnight, but I think one of the keys is going to be is other blacks coming out of denial and thinking that we've arrived because there's a few sports figures and celebrities that happen to make a good salary. On average, if we just take a little time and research the entire country, or even just start with your own city and see if the majority of the blacks in your city or in your state are living above poverty level, and that should say a whole lot to you.
Yeah, and that's what about you, Anthony? What do you think as far as how we move toward Dr. King's dream? What is your opinion on what the nation is doing today?
Today, there's definitely been a difference than what it was back then. There's certain laws that's passed that's not incriminating black people and just treating them any type of way, but there still is an amount of racism that's there that we can't change all in one day, like Prophetess was saying, but we gotta look at each other and we gotta take initiative, and we gotta just reunite again, because today black people are more spread out, and we got your Uncle Toms and people that's acting like they not black no more. And you gotta remember where you came from and your roots.
Yeah. What do you feel, Trayvon?
I think that we have made progress, but we do have a very long ways to go. And I do think that we get showed and portrayed this beautiful picture of what we want to pretend society is, but we have not gotten as far as we've been told that we've gotten. And also a lot of us don't realize that white supremacists are trying to inch us backwards as subtly as possible and as much as possible, and we do need to be prepared, and we need to stick together, because the world is against us a lot more than we realize.
Well, that sounds like a new revolutionary right there. Thank you, young man. Put a pistol in his hand. Yeah.
No, don't do that.
No. Tyree?
Yeah, I think we have advanced, but we have some problems that we could still work on, such as, New York City has the stop and frisk law. That law, which was passed, is beyond what you would consider the conservative and liberal perspective. That's more of the race thing. President Barack Obama and Attorney General Eric Holder have yet to do anything about that. They tend to stay silent, and then you have your Uncle Toms and your Reverend Al Sharptons, those people who like to tend to come out during the times where a black uprising is to happen and try to calm us down, and sometimes make a situation about race when it really shouldn't be, but they like to do that just to see us all go to jail. But I think we're moving in a positive way, but also in a negative. So it's a 50-50.
Yeah, and that's very important. When I was a young man, just to try to escape from my own torment as far as racism, I became a bootlicking, ass-kissing Negro myself. I was a bourgeois, until I had to realize that, I wasn't a white man.
Yeah, the light bulb had to come on, huh?
Yeah. So I was a bootlicking, ass-kissing, kind of person. I hate to, saying this on the radio, but we all know, the word is even in the Bible too. So
the truth will set us free.
Yeah,
and it's good to confess when you've made a mistake and an error. And the worst thing I think people can do is be in denial.
Yeah.
About like Trayvon was saying, being in denial about where we are, or just coming out of the woodwork like Tyrese was saying, whenever there's a problem, and then when there isn't something to piggyback off of, those people, those so-called L. Sharptons and people like that, you never hear them initiating any positive move.
Yeah, because I used to be a black Republican, for 4 years, so I had, I was in my, I think I was 22, 23 years old. I was a Republican.
But wasn't Dr. King also a Republican?
Yeah, they say he voted. He was signed as a Republican, but he changed his party. People like to use that as a tool. Matter of fact,
I'm just asking because I think it's a good question.
Yeah, because I was reading an article.
May not know.
Yeah, and we need to understand the Democratic, Republican Party, it doesn't matter what party, they're all the same, and to be honest, it is true because it's called control chaos. That's what they do. And we as Christians, we know, that what's really going on. So we got some changes coming with the Dr. Hut show. Next week we'll have our new music, some new topics and new format. So we're going to be talking about things that are happening out there, and we're going to give you a spiritual insight of what is going on. We're going to help you understand why the things are the way they are, so that you can be able to put on your whole armor and be able to stand the wiles of the devil, because it gets worse from here, folks. It gets no better. You have the peace far as from Jesus, but we will have true Bible prophecy will come true. So we all need to be on the same page.
Be aware.
And like I say, the church is the most dangerous place to be. And if you're in there, you most definitely got to make sure you got your whole armor on. Not saying that we should forsake coming together like Paul said, but we have to realize that if we're going to come together, it has to be under God's terms, and as far as the Holy Spirit has to be present, because we're living in a time and a day where even the elite can be fooled. So I just like to thank everybody for participating. I'd like to thank Anthony, Trayvon, Tyrese. You just heard this perspective and understanding from 21-year-old and to 17-year-olds and plus me with my middle-age crisis self.
And it was great hearing from them. They all said some very, very important things.
Yeah, so ladies and gentlemen, we just like to thank you for joining us and being able to let us come into your presence. And we thank you, and we'll be talking to you the next week when you get a hold of the Dr. Hut show. And we'd like to thank you for joining us, and have a good evening.